Started the record. Okay, so today we just gonna do a little practice. I'm gonna see what you got. All right, so we are in applied math, Mondays, Thursdays, 10:30. Welcome to the fourth week of the term. So we are moving right along. All right, so again, we still talking about sequences and functions, and we are going to just go straight to the practice. So now, we talked about last week using, how about this? Let me switch these up. Let me move these slides around. Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right, let me move that back there. Okay, so we can start here and then move there. All right, so last week we talked about using formulas to find terms of a sequence because again, sometimes they may ask you for a term that's further down in the sequence, not the next three. They may ask you the 15th, the 35th, the 55th. Okay? So there is a way for us to get there without going through all of the terms. So we talked about the arithmetic sequence. We can, yes, find the difference. We can find the next terms, but then they asked us for the 20th term. So we used our formula, started with our formula. Second step, we did a substitution. For every variable that we had, we replaced it with a value. And then it just became a straight math, a straight general math problem. Remember, you always have to use order operations. So that's what we did. We did what was in parentheses first. Then we multiplied. And lastly, we added. So our 20th term of this sequence is 79.
Hello, this is Dr. Gonde. Welcome to my...
I am so sorry. Let me mute myself.
Okay, then we looked at a geometric sequence. Same thing. We figured out the ratio. We were multiplying by 3. We found the next 3 terms, but then they asked us to find the 11th term. So again, instead of finding those 4, 5, 6 additional terms, we could plug it into a formula. So again, we start with the formula. We replace the variables with values. And then again, let's do some math. The parenthesis at this point is happening in the exponent. We still do it first. And then we did, so that was parentheses. And then here we do exponents, which gave us the 59,049. And then lastly, we did the multiplication. So the last term so the 11th term, excuse me, is 236,196. So let's practice that using these two formulas and see what we have. So here's our practice. You're going to find the 12th term of the first sequence, the 7th term of the second, the 10th term of the third, and the 15th term of the fourth. So according to my clock, I have 10:58. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say 10 after. That gives us roughly 4 minutes a problem if we need that. Something I was going to say. on the board. It'll be easy. Oh man. Sorry, I hope nobody's at D yet. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, we're gonna take about 5 more minutes.
I don't understand it, B, but I think I got the other ones good. All right.
All right. What you get for B?
I didn't try B.
Oh. Why? Because it had a fraction.
I don't know. I just know that it was a positive one, then it went to a negative, then it went back.
So what
I
happened?
mean,
First of all, what's happening with the numbers? Increasing or decreasing?
I don't know. Is 8 the first number?
No, for B, 64 is the first number. Well, how about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's work backwards. You had -8 and now you have a positive 16. What did you do?
8 divided by 2.
Whoa, wait. Which way you going? Left or right? Because if you going from -8 to 16, I disagree. But if you going from -8 to the next number, I agree. So
Yeah, that's why I
all
skipped
right,
it.
that's okay, because we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. It's cool. And I'm gonna stop the share because I wrote down the problem. So let me stop the share so y'all can see my screen. Okay. First of all, anybody have any proposals? What is the 12th term of the first sequence? -5, -6, -7, -8. And we are looking for the 12th term. Anybody has any proposals?
-20.
You say -20?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so first and foremost, what type of sequence is it? Geometric or arithmetic?
Geometric.
Geo, multiplying or dividing?
Oh, arithmetic.
Right. So a rat in Tom's house might eat Tom's ice cream. Okay, so we have x to the 12th.
A word.
Right. So remember, for if I do not believe you talk about something on A word.
Somebody told me.
I hear you.
one of my
Right. You in the
classmates,
mind.
they
You in
said
the mind.
the A word.
Mine said the same thing. He said it all the time. He's like, listen, I get tongue tied. Okay, so if this is our formula for finding terms in an arithmetic sequence, now we're going to put in what we know. Remember, this is A. A is the first term. What is the difference? How is it moving? We started with -5. We did something and then we got -6.
Single.
How's it
-1.
-1, right. So if for our purposes, we're going to have A is equal to -5. So A is -5 because that's the first term. We said the difference is a -1. And we are looking for the 12th term. Okay, so that should have been how you set it up in the beginning. Remember, A is the first term of the sequence, D is the difference, and N is the number of the term that we are looking for. So now it's just a math problem. So we can't use -5 yet. Leave that there. We can't use the -1 yet. Leave that there. Let's do what's in parentheses. 12 minus 1 gave us 11. We still can't use -5 yet, but -1 times 11 is, what's a negative times a positive?
Positive.
A negative times a positive.
It's positive, right?
Nope. Got to be negative. It's when you multiplying, The only time the answer is positive if the signs are the same, be they both negative or both positive. So a negative times a positive is always going to give you a negative. Therefore, the 12th term of this sequence should be negative 16. So go back and check your math if that's not what you got.
That was
Again,
negative six. Wait, so I
You-
wasn't supposed to count on from the 8?
even if you count from the 8, right? So let's see if we did it longhand, and I'm gonna do it right here. All right, so we got negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, and we need the 12th term. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's where we're trying to go. So if we keep subtracting 1, negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, 12, negative 13, negative 14. See, we still got there.
I did it wrong then.
That's okay. That's why we in class. So we can
Because
straighten it out.
The next 12 terms.
Oh, okay. I get it. Okay. You did the next 12 terms instead of the 12th term. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But again, that shows you understand because you understood what you did. So that's cool. So now, so you're telling me the next 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. If we were asking for the next 12, you are correct. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Good money. All right. So what about the second one? We looking for B. We are looking for the second term. I'm sorry, the 7th term. So,
Geometric.
all right, yep, it's geometric. All right, so now, how is the sequence moving? So let's start with the formula first. So we got A to the N is equal to A times the ratio raised to a power. All right, so now, let's fill it in. What's our N? What term are we looking for? Because that's our N value, is our term. So they are asking us to find the 7th term. So now, this still represents the first term. So the first term is 64. How is the sequence moving? Because that's going to be our R. What's happening? We started with 64. We did something. We have a negative 32. We did that same thing. We came up with a positive 16. We did that same thing and came up with a negative 8. So what is happening with the sequence?
Is it negative 2?
Not
Divided by-
negative 2, but negative what? Because we going down. Flip it over. Not 2, but do the reciprocal of 2. What's the reciprocal of 2? If we flip it. Because you are decreasing.
Positive 2?
Not positive 2. You said it was negative. I'm with you. But not 2, because if it was 2, it would be coming from the right going to the left.
4?
Be coming from the left going to the right. So how does 32 relate to 64? It is
Tom?
Yeah, times
Times
what
2.
though? Because we going down. Not times 2. Flip it over. What's the reciprocal of 2?
What's a reciprocal? I can't say that word.
I love you, man. What happens when you flip 2 over? So, like, the reciprocal, let's say the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3 because you just flipped it over. That's the reciprocal. So you keep telling me 2. And I keep saying no. What's the reciprocal of 2? Flip it over. What's understood to be under here? Because we don't see it. What number?
1.
Yes. So I asked you, tell me the reciprocal. Flip that. And what is it?
I have.
Thank
Oh.
you, sir. And see, I like that confidence too. You was like, Hicks, you playing with me. I love it. I love it. Okay, so now we have the first digit. We have the ratio of change. Yes, we are multiplying by a half. So positive 64, but times a negative 1/2 gives you a negative 32. Negative 32 times a half. Double negative goes positive. So that's why the sign is positive, and then 32 divided by 2 is 16. Absolutely. Okay, so now let's look at the exponent. So our exponent is, wait, so this stays because this is multiplication. All right, so then we got 7 minus 1. All right, so now order operations. Let's do what's in parentheses first. So we have not used the 64. We have not used the negative 1/2. So we're going to put that in there still. However, we can now simplify. What's 7 minus 1?
6.
6. All right, so now our exponent is 6. So now let's do some math. Do we remember exponents? So we keep it 64 because we're not there yet. We are now figuring out this piece. So what is negative 1/2 to the 6th power? So remember, if we expand that,
This is a 2 to the top, right? Something like that. To the 6th power.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So now this is what it's asking us. So here we go. What's negative 1 times a negative 1? Double
0.
negative goes.
It's 0, right?
Nope. Multiply them. Don't add them. Multiply.
1.
Right. So now this produces a positive 1, but a positive 1. But here now you got a positive 1 times a negative 1. So what happens to the sign as we go down here? It does what?
A negative 1.
It flip-flop. Yes. So let's walk it. Ready? Negative times negative gave what sign?
A positive.
Times a negative is switched to
A negative.
here, switches to a
What? What am I looking at?
you flipping the signs as you go. So it starts negative. When you multiply it here, it goes positive. When you multiply here, it goes what?
-2.
Yep. And now here it goes back to negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative is negative. So what's happening here is the sign's going to flip. Negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive.
Positive
So
2.
your answer is going to be a positive 1 up top because we just multiplying.
Oh.
Now let's multiply across this bottom. 2 times 2
4.
times 2.
6.
Nuh-uh.
No, 8.
Don't. I was gonna say, don't add or multiply them. What's 8 times 2?
16.
What's 16 times 2?
32.
And lastly, what's 32 times 2?
64.
So now we multiplying by 1/64. Because negative 1/2 to the 6th power gives you 1/64. That's what we just did down here. We just kept going. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64. So now we got a math problem we can work with. So what is 64 times 1/64? You remember multiplication of fractions. Numerator times numerator. So now, remember, for those of you who don't like how this looks, remember that every whole number can be made a fraction by putting what in the denominator? And it won't change the value or anything. What can we put in the denominator? So then we'll have a fraction times a fraction.
Yeah.
Every whole number can be written as a fraction over 1 because it doesn't change the value. So now you have a fraction times a fraction. Because when things look alike, it's easier for you to work with them. So the 7th term, what's 64 times 1?
64.
And in the denominator, what's 64 times 1? No trick question. Same thing I asked you for the numerator.
Oh, 64.
So the 7th term is 1.
Wait, what?
Yep, it's 1. Now, let's do it longhand, Ja. We started with 64. We went negative 32. We went positive 16. We went negative 8, right? And we need the 7th term. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now, if we, again, we've been going by half, right? So what's half of 8?
4.
4. What's half of 4?
2.
What's half of 2?
1.
All right, so we at least have the numbers. Now let's make sure the signs are right. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So this should be negative. So see, you came up with the 7th number is 1. So again, be it longhand or using the formula, you still come out with the same answer. Okay?
Yeah.
Makes sense? All right, so now don't be scared of the fractions, y'all. Life is not in whole parts. Okay? Life is not in whole parts. So let's say that you are, let's say you're a nurse and you working on something and you need to figure out, I don't know, in every 3 hours, you decrease the medicine by, I don't know, a half a millimeter. Well, you can figure out, because you know this, or you know how to do this, you can figure out how much medicine they'll be taking after a while. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff that these things help you with. You know, that sequences and patterns help you with. Because if you understand, that's just like you might say that since it's summertime, everybody's on a weight loss plan. So you might say that in 6 weeks, you are going on a trip. And let's say you working out and everything, and you losing 3 pounds a week. Then you can figure, like, by the time your vacation come, you gonna lose at least 15 additional pounds. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that was the only thing that came to my mind because it's summer. But the point is, if you see the sequence, if you can figure out how a sequence is moving, you can find any term in the sequence because you have 2 formulas that will help you do that. And we will do C and D on Thursday. So if you have it, work on those 2. That's where we're going to start.